Pope Francis on Thursday urged the downtrodden to change the world economic order, denouncing a new colonialism by agencies that impose austerity programs and calling for the poor to have the sacred rights of labor, lodging, and land.
Because I believe that the Pope has played a historical and incredible role in trying to create a new world economy and a new vision for the people of our planet.
A new world economy and a new vision for the people of our planet.
This has nothing to do with church and state. Well, I just expressed my admiration for him and the extraordinary role that he is playing, well beyond the Catholic Church, by the way, to people throughout the world.
We have got to ingrain moral principles into our economy. And there is no area where that is clearer than in the area of climate change.
Some say that capitalism isn't good because it makes some rich and some poor. Yes, this is true, but this is because true capitalism rewards people that are productive. Socialism, on the other hand, rewards welfare and food stamp recipients with the hard-earned money of those who work a lot of hours and are productive.
Dorothy Day died in 1980. She was a socialist, and the fact that the Pope signaled her as one of the leaders that he admired tells us what his view is in terms of what we should be doing around the world in terms of income and wealth inequality and poverty and the need to fight for justice.
It continues to add regulations and restrictions which make it impossible for small businesses to operate, hiring more people and creating more jobs and giving higher incomes. The reason for the previous economic crisis was because of governments subsidizing high-risk purchases and high-risk business practices such as loaning to people who will never be able to pay back, taking money from the poor and giving it to businesses that are already failing such as Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, General Motors, etc. Now ask yourself, is it smart to give more money to companies that aren't running good businesses? If your business wasn't succeeding, would it be okay to take taxes from someone else who is producing more, creating more jobs, and give it to your failing business? And this has continued to the point where the entire nation is now $19 trillion in debt, and that debt continues to increase by the second. That is socialism in action, and that is what the Pope is, a socialist.
Think he's a socialist?
Yes.
What happens when you take taxes from the average middle-class businessman and create so many regulations that they can't afford to operate anymore? You end up in only major corporations and a giant society of debtors to an elitist few who will rule as kings.
It was very important to do. Let's go ahead and listen in.
About the need for a moral economy.
To talk about how we inject morality into the global economy. This is the essence of what Pope Francis has been fighting for.
So I am just so excited to be here, so proud to be here with other like-minded people who are trying to do our best to create a moral economy.
This has nothing to do with church and state.
And this is where socialism leads, and yet so few understand what the true goals are. With $19 trillion in debt, it is only a matter of time before collections start. The average debt owed per American citizen is over $58,000. And since it is impossible for Americans to pay it back, what is happening? Well, they will come for your property. Let's take a look at how they plan to do this. In the book of Revelation, chapter 17, we read of a woman riding a beast with 10 horns. The book of Revelation is a book of symbols given. In order to understand the symbols, we are told in the book of 2 Peter, chapter 1, verse 19, that prophecy is of no private interpretation. In other words, the Bible interprets itself. So a woman in prophecy is a symbol of something. It symbolizes a church if we compare Jeremiah 6:2, Hebrews 12:22 and 23, and also Galatians 4:26 and Revelation chapter 12. A beast is a symbol of a state, power, or kingdom. See Daniel 7:23. So the horns on the beast represent the different divisions in that kingdom. And you can see that in Daniel 7:24 and Revelation 17 verse 12. So in essence, when speaking of a woman riding the beast with 10 horns, as we see in Revelation 17, we are reading about a church using the state power. Revelation 17 verse 2 reads, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. In Revelation 17 and verse 12, we are told that the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings for 1 hour with the beast. In other words, there is a kingdom that has not yet come, and when it comes, it will reign for a short space. See Revelation 17 and verse 10. They have yet to receive crowns and rule as kings yet. The kings right now are merely acknowledged in a ceremonial form. What is coming is a world religion ruling over the kings of the earth, and this is none other than the papacy. First, look at the following in Revelation 17:4. We read of this woman that the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Notice the depiction of the woman in their own coins. The woman is on top of the world. She is controlling the kings of the earth. She is riding the beast. The papacy has had this power already during the Dark Ages, and she will have it once again. The power is already being given over. The papacy is calling for a new economic order. They want to control the economy. Why? Because they want to control who might buy or sell. The Bible tells us in the book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 17 that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. The buying and selling issue revolves around the law of God, and those who uphold the law of God, the enemies of the state, will be those who refuse to bow to the socialist decrees. What exactly and how exactly will this socialist system be set up? In Revelation 17 and verse 13, speaking of the 10 horns, we are told that these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. One mind, in other words, they will be of one accord, united nations. And just what do these United Nations seek to do when they have their kingdom? Well, here is a United Nations map. It is from Sustainable Development Agenda 21. In it we see several yellow areas and several red areas. Under this project, the red area would be considered forbidden zones and you wouldn't be able to go there, period. Even the yellow areas are highly regulated use. So if and when authorities gave you permission to go there, it likely would not be very often and you definitely would not be living there. In fact, only the green areas would be for the normal use by people. On September 23rd of 2015, the Pope visited the United States Capitol, the heart of the nation, Washington, D.C. On September 24th, 2015, he addressed the United States Congress. 500 days earlier, we were told by a French foreign minister that we had 500 days to avoid climate chaos.
We have 500 days to avoid the climate chaos. Very important issue of climate change, climate chaos, and I said that we had 500 days to avoid the climate chaos, and I know that President Obama and John Kerry himself are committed on this subject, and I'm sure that with them, with a lot of other friends, we should be able to reach a success in this very important matter.
Only 500 days later, the Pope was in the United States on September 25th, headlining a speaking spot, and the topic at hand was his environmental encyclical, which had been released only 2 months earlier. The agenda was set. September 23rd, or 9/23, was hailed by many, and many realized that something seemed to be set for this date. It was the Day of Atonement, a once-a-year memorial also known as Judgment Day in the Bible, where the high priest goes into the Most Holy as a mediator or lawyer and stands before the judge. Interestingly, in the book of Revelation, chapter 17, John is being shown something about this woman. In verse 1, the angel said, "I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore." And why is she judged? We are told in verse 2 of her sin. We read, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication." In other words, she is supposed to be married to Christ, the church, and she instead has accepted the offer of Satan to rule over the kingdoms of this world. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," in John 18:36. And when offered the kingdoms of the world, rejected them. See Matthew chapter 4, verses 8 to 10. In the Pope's encyclical, he attacked capitalism, and what he has been pushing towards is a socialist agenda, particularly the United Nations socialist agenda called the Sustainable Development Agenda. The environment is therefore becoming not just a political and social issue, but has become a religious one.
Because I believe that the Pope has played a historical and incredible role in trying to create a new world economy and a new vision for the people of our planet. I have long been a supporter of the economic vision of Pope Francis. His views on climate change have played a profound role. Let me tell you, I'm a member of the Senate Committee on the Environment. Pope Francis's encyclical has played a profound role in turning many people's minds around about the urgency of the moment in terms of dealing with climate change.
The official signing ceremony for this agenda was actually on the Passover this year. On April 22nd, 2016, 178 countries signed. The countries that signed promised to do all in their power to implement this agenda. In a nutshell, the plan calls for government to take control of all land use and not leave any of the decision-making in the hands of private property owners. It is assumed that people are not good stewards of their land, and the government will do a better job if they are in control. Individual rights in general are to give way to the needs of communities as determined by the governing body, communism, socialism. How are you going to pay your debt anyway? So the plan is simple. They're coming to get your land very soon. Stay tuned for part 2 in this video series. This event, and he defends working with Kanye West, who said the following:
I sold my soul to